Good Tuesday morning. So I am here today I'm going to make my coffee and we're going to have just a short conversation about something that really stuck out to me the other day whenever I was listening to a sermon and I was thinking back on this past year, and I have had a ton of transitions and changes. And though it may look like everything's been smooth sailing on my social media, it has been crazy. To see just how different things could be from one point of your year to at this point of the year. I'm about to end 2019 in a very different way than I intended to. And so, I just wanted to share with y'all really quick, a little bit about that. And then as we talk about this whole concept of boats, okay, that's where we're going with this, sailing through the year and what can happen, okay, I'm going to be making my coffee. So just quick thing about my coffee. It is an amazing coffee, keeps me energized, helps me lose weight, and it is made, it's made to be keto friendly, but not keto only. So that means that you can use it even if you're not on the keto diet or you don't need to lose weight and maybe you just need energy and mental focus. It has stuff in it that will really help you with that, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to talking about boats. So raise your hand if you knew that you are a boat. That you have unique qualities and things about you that could be comparable to a boat, okay? So, now y'all know I love Jesus, so here we go with some Jesus real quick. So when Jesus was starting his ministry, mind you, he was undercover for 30 years, and it took that 30 years of preparation and all the things all of his process before he would even start his calling, right? And then he only did it for 3 years. Anyways, that's just a side note thing that sometimes things just take time, okay? Embrace the process. So when Jesus was starting his ministry, he came across a guy named Peter. And Peter had a boat. Now here's the thing. Peter was not the only fisherman around this area that had a boat. Majority of them had boats. Obviously, they're fishermen. But for whatever reason, Jesus chose Peter's boat. So, I just want you guys to think about that really quick, because I don't think Peter thought that he was going to be chosen by someone like Jesus for his boat to get used. So, sometimes you don't see that you are the who that is needed to fulfill a certain mission, that you don't realize that you and your boat, what you have to offer, the skill set you already have. That's the thing. Peter didn't have to go out and learn how, he wasn't this random person who didn't know how to sail a boat. He already knew how, and Jesus came and found him right where he was at and was ready to use him. I believe that Jesus chose to use him because he picked him and he was ready to say yes. He was ready to go for it. And the thing is what would have happened if Peter said no? Jesus still would have done his thing. You know what I mean? So we have to remember that there's always somebody else out there who's willing to say yes. So when it's your turn to say yes to something, just recognize, say yes. Okay. So anyways, now here's the thing. And this is where that story for me even got very, not twisted in a bad way, but it just got turned around. Okay. So for a long time, I looked at that story, definitely that part of that story, and I would think, okay, so, there we go. I would think that, okay, so Peter, it's about Peter, right? Peter was chosen, yay, and he gets to go do this stuff that he didn't see himself doing. Sorry. What's wrong? You go watch a show with Sissy. She's like, she knows, y'all. She knows that I'm doing something. You go with Sissy. Okay, 1 second. Y'all know that I do this from home with babies, and I do have a tripod though, so it's like weird to hold it. How about we do a granola bar for a snack? These? Y'all no. Okay, y'all. Whoop. I'll have to record another one later. Oh, I can't hold you. Hold on. Pretzel. Oh, no. Sorry, y'all. Let's see. Crazy babies. This. Okay. We found the snack. Even though they just had breakfast. But it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So, here we go. So, like I was saying, so in that story, we kind of think that, like, Peter's the one that's, like, the focus, right? That he, that it's kind of, like, about him in a sense. Like, we're like, yay, you know, like, Peter was chosen, blah, 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 so Lord, use me. Like, come get my boat, blah, 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 blah. And we kind of, like, make it about us. And this is where I'm going to step on toes. Here we go. So, because I have been guilty of it. I would not step on toes unless I was guilty of it too, okay? I'm not that type of person. So, we think it's about us. But what happened is Jesus saw a platform of that boat that was fit for him. Not for Peter and what would happen in Peter's life and the blessing it would be to Peter, but Jesus had to get somewhere. And he chose to use that because he does want us to be a part of it. But just because he wants us to be a part of it doesn't mean that it's like the Jesus and Peter show. No, it's the Jesus show all day. But he chose to use Peter like he chooses us, okay? So this is where we can sometimes get our who mixed up. And so our who isn't us. Our who, it consists of two people. So now if you're a believer, I believe that your who is Jesus and the people that he wants to reach and affect by your life. If you're not a believer and maybe you're just thinking like, okay, so where do I fit in that then, Hillary? Then I would say your who is going to be still the people that you affect with your everyday life. The people that you have influence over. Like, it has been said by so many top people when it comes to social media and things, if you have one follower or one friend on social media, then you are an influencer. So just insert in who you have influence over, the people that are around you that are affected by your presence in this life, okay? So a lot of times we will get mixed up with our who. And we think it's about us when really it's about our mission, which, like I said, if you're a believer, it's really Jesus' mission through your life, and then the who that mission is going to impact and affect. So that's number one. Number two about it is the what. And just side note, I personally, one of my whats for that mission to reach the who, to serve one who and reach the other who and to do all of that, one of my whats is social media. So right now, like, I'm using this to do part of what I feel like is my life calling. But sometimes that can shift and change. And so as things are changing in my business and different things like that, I'll be announcing those things like throughout this week. But one thing that I want to like show you guys is to embrace the change of it. So there's another boat story, okay? Now I'm not forgetting about Peter and Jesus or anything, but I'm going to skip to another boat story really quick, just because this really stood out to me yesterday, and I was like, okay, it's time to talk about the boats, Hillary. So, did y'all know that Paul, so this is, later on in the story, okay, a story of just faith, right? Okay, so later on, Paul actually was going out and he was doing his thing on mission for Jesus. Like, he was going out and doing his thing. And did y'all know that he actually had multiple shipwrecks, that it wasn't just one, but we only know about one. So here's the proof of that. And this is totally like, I'm stealing this from a pastor that I listened to, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that story that way. So I'm just sharing with you what I just learned, okay? So bear with me on it. So Paul gets on his first boat, second boat, he's going out, and for whatever reason, those trips didn't work. Like, it didn't happen. Like, he had wrecks and everything like that. And we didn't hear about those. We know that they happened, but we didn't hear the details. So here's what that tells you, though, is that sometimes things are going to happen undercover. Things are going to happen where people aren't seeing it. You're walking through it, like you're going through it for a specific reason and a purpose. And if you can persevere through the things that are happening beneath the surface that not everybody sees, then there's going to be a story and a moment where things shift. And you may go through another situation where you're going to wreck again. Like Paul wrecked again. And that's when we finally catch up with him going out in these boats, and that's part of the story. So there'll be a shift and a thing happen where it's time for that stuff to be exposed and shared with other people, normally not for us, for others, and for his purpose through us, okay? So what happened is Paul gets on another boat, and some crazy stuff goes down, and the boat wrecks. But here's the thing, he made it. You're okay. You want me to wrap you up?
I'm so dirty. My mouth.
It's okay. You know what? You can turn it around. How about you turn it around? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Kiss. There you go. Ready? Princess Samara. There you go. She likes to wrap up in a blanket. I mean, who doesn't? It's cold, okay? So, okay, we're gonna keep going. And I forgot, hold on, I need to mix this up a little bit again. Trying to think. Okay, so now this ship, it wrecks, okay? And when it did, it wrecks hard. And Paul ends up making it to the shore, but he's floating on a piece of the boat. So this is just a side note about like another boat story where I want to tell you that just because things are wrecking around you right now doesn't mean that you're not going to get where you're supposed to go, and it doesn't mean that you should give up. So just stay on that piece of what you have left after that wreckage. Stay with it and stay the course. That is personally what I have gone through. So if you guys have been following me just for the past year, you would see that that I had a business, and I had different little things, like, you know, all these little things that I've done over this past year. And some of those things, it didn't fully like wreck like in a negative way, but it changed. It did wreck, and there was some of it was not highlighted. I didn't share it, you know, and then other parts of it I did share the pieces and things, and then kind of like, here's what's left of that, here's the remains of that, and like, let's go through this process or whatever to figure out what God wants to do with it. So it's just a side note that I'm not a perfect person, that I'm not somebody that is without wrecks. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through them, and that's why I'm sharing that. Okay, so why I'm sharing that, okay, you got it? Do you want it back? Where do you want me to put it? I put it right there. You want to take this? Take it to playroom? Sorry. No? Okay. And just leave it there. Okay. So, no, go. Here. Look. You want to play with this? Go make something? This is our thing to do. She's gonna bake something. There you go. Take it to playroom. Thank you. Bye. Okay, so what I was saying about that is, and why I wanted to share that story about that particular boat is, so now you have two boats in your mind, okay? You have visuals, kind of. You have this boat that is wrecked, and then you have this boat that is just starting out. and like just starting to be used for something. So both of these boats though are carrying a mission and a purpose that's bigger than the people on it. Okay, other than Jesus, not bigger than Jesus for Peter, but Peter's boat at the time was just Peter. Okay, so sometimes your boat will change. Sometimes it wrecks. Sometimes you maybe have labeled that boat, that thing that you do, that thing that you're passionate about, that thing that you feel like is like your thing, like all of that, you may have like labeled it a certain way and like named your boat, and then Jesus wants to show up, or this change is going to happen in your life that kind of changes the whole direction that that boat is going to go. And it's no longer a fisherman's boat, but it's a boat to like travel and to do certain things and go serve people and whatever. And then this boat over here, well, it wrecked, but I still am floating on this piece here. So sometimes God will wreck your boat, different things will happen, and you're holding on to that one thing. And then other times, going back to Peter now, other times God will take, and kind of in the same sense with the wreckage pieces of the boat, but God will take your boat and say, okay, right now, I need you to just paddle, because it's who I need to get to. It's my purpose through you. Like, he's the one that created you. So your purpose here is always going to be in line with what he needs to do. And he's just going to use you to do it because you're his kid. Like, why not? Like, if I ever, so there's times that I look at Zamira, my oldest, and say, Javi, my youngest, say like she's upset, or maybe she fell down and got a boo-boo, and I'm like busy doing something and my hands are busy, and I'm like, Zamira, go kiss Sissy for me. So at that moment when Zamira she goes and kisses the boo-boo, hey, no fighting. Right now she ain't kissing boo-boos, right now she's causing them. But at that moment when Zamira kisses the boo-boo on her sissy's leg because I told her to, it's the same thing as when God tells us, hey, go serve that person or go love that person, like, for me. It's not in place of me, it's for me so that they can feel me through you. So that's where I'm going with that, okay? So what'll happen is, so sometimes you are in a season where you are paddling. And that's all you're supposed to do, because it's not about you. It's about, if you get there too early, would it really serve those people well? If you try to like launch that thing or do whatever or all those kinds of things, is it going to happen too quick if you were to use something else other than just to paddle? Okay? And then the flip side of that, what if God said, it's time to put like this, like, motor on here, like really get it and like really get there, and you're like, I'm good, I'm just gonna keep paddling, just my little paddle boat. And he's like, no, I need you there, like, go, take action, get there, like, let's do this thing. So you need to be really testing the waters in a sense and figure out what am I needed for right now. Like, where, God, like, where do you want to take me? Where do you want me to go? Okay, so that kind of explains, like, your what on that, because your what is going to be in direct relation to your who. Your what, though, may change. The direction may change. The title of it may change. Like, you may be in one boat, and then God's like, but I have a yacht over here for you. And you're like, but I love my boat. And he's like, it's time to make a shift and a change. Let's get over here and do this thing. So just be ready to embrace that, okay? So that's just a little encouragement. And the last thing is figuring out where and remembering that the where. Oh, another one. See, here's what happens. Javi ends up sharing. Ooh, look at, there is a bowl within another bowl. It's a 2-for-1. Okay. And this one. You can take both of them, Javi. You can have both of them. Okay, take it to the playroom. Go make a cake with Sissy in playroom. Come here, Zamira. Just knocking it out really quick.
Oh, okay.
You can make little cupcakes. After you're making cupcakes and that. Okay?
That was story my cupcake.
Yeah, you can make cupcake.
Okay.
It's a play one. Okay. Okay, so the last thing, so we've talked about For one, we talked about your who, we talked about your what, so in relation to boats, and now we're going into where. So where you're going in your boat and why you're going there and all the good things. So the where, it's gonna change. That's why I said in the very beginning of this video, I said, listen, my life has dramatically changed from where I started at. Like really around this time last year, I had just finished up hosting my own conference. I had a business shift that was like a major shift. It wasn't a negative one, it was just a major change. I was working for my church. I had like a lot of different stuff going on. And now today, I'm full blown in like network marketing. I'm doing public speaking for other people's conferences, not my own. And I've met a ton of different people that I've been working with. And I'm also doing social media for a whole different aspect of my community. So it's like really different. But here's the thing. I know that I have remained in step with who I am called to and who has called me. So I know that to be like a fact of I'm solid on that. And then when it comes to the what, I've like really dealt with, okay, so Lord, you changed my what on me, and like, am I okay with that? And honestly, that's where the wrestling happens. That's where the pruning happens. That's where God's like, hey, there's some weeds here. We need to like clear them out. Like that kind of stuff. That's where all of that happens. And then we find ourselves where? Like where we're supposed to be at, where we're called to, like the where. So the thing is I don't know location-wise or specific, like I wouldn't even say like a destination of a job or a certain promotion or anything like that. I don't know that where. I don't. But what I do know about my where is that when I get there, more of this process is gonna make sense. Like for Peter, so going back to that first story, for Peter, that day when Jesus came and he was like, hey dude, I need to use your boat. He didn't know that his boat was not only gonna be used to like take Jesus to go feed multitudes of people with just a couple loaves and a few fish. Like he didn't know that. He didn't know that he was gonna witness a man being dead, being brought back to life, you know, with Lazarus' story. He didn't know that Jairus' daughter was going to be raised to life by way of Jesus hopping on his boat one day. Like he didn't know all of this. And he definitely didn't know that there was going to be a day that Jesus looked at him and he said that I'm going to build my church on you. He didn't know that, but he said yes. So the thing is about your where is that you're really never going to know your exact where. And when you get to maybe like a point, you're going to look back and certain things are going to make sense. Like you're going to recognize your where as you're stepping into it. But beforehand, you're most likely not going to know it. Like you're not going to, like for me, I don't know why there are certain things right now that have changed in my life that most likely have nothing to do with me and 100% to do with my kids. And like what is going to be the best thing for them in the future that I had to learn right now. Like the hard thing that I go through right now, the hard friendship changes, like different stuff that can happen will make me a better mom for where I need to be at the future when they come to me and they say like, I'm hurt by this or something happened or, you know what I mean? That kind of like brings it back down a little bit to understand like just like really practical moments that those kind of things happen. But the thing is how you're responding right now will determine what you've learned along the way and what progress you've made so that later on you're ready to show up where you're at. So that leads us into like really my whole thing about this. And side note, like I said, part of my what is social media. Like part of my boat is social media and showing up here for people. Okay. And so one way that I do that is I like to encourage people to show up. I empower people to show up as the best version of themselves, definitely women. So women who are showing up in business or women who need to show up better at home. Like I love to help people find the gold that's within them, pull that thing out and then show up as the best version of them. I believe that for a lot of us, definitely believers, what we find ourselves wrestling with sometimes, and even causing us to be stuck at times, will be really the old version of us that we are no longer defined as anymore. I believe that when we become a Christian, we are made into a full right standing with God. And yes, we do repent of sin, and we do walk through some processes and make progress and things, and we are nowhere near perfect, but our desires aren't truly the desires of our old selves that used to hold us back, that sometimes that voice just gets a little loud. And what I like doing is helping people kick that voice out so that they can truly show up as who they were created to be and live a purpose-filled life. So when you show up, when you see that who called you to who you were called to, like all of that, when you get a good understanding of that, and then you step into the next phase of, okay, God, so what do I do with that? Like, I just have a regular 9-to-5 job, or I'm just at home with my kids. Like, what do I have to do anything with? So, like, for me, I have a phone, and I have Wi-Fi, and I have a voice, and I have a story. That's all what? That's all parts of the boat. So here's what's really cool, too. Just to, like, wrap this up. Your what, you may not completely understand it or know it yet. Okay, you're asking those questions that I was just kind of like filtering through. You're like, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I don't know. But here's what I do know, is as you're going through the process of figuring it out, maybe you are in the process of building the boat. It does take time. You don't just all of a sudden one day say, well, I have this now. Peter was asked by Jesus because he already was a fisherman. So maybe you're finding yourself saying like, okay, I've just been like sitting around not doing anything because I'm just choosing to not do anything and look at anything I have around me. But what could be the boards, and what could be the nails, and what could be the hammer that is used to put those things together and build the boat, build the platform for a mission that's greater than you, for you to just steward it around, honestly. Like, what are those things that maybe today you could say, okay, I'm ready because I see something over here and I see something here, and maybe if I could put those together, then I could start doing something. That I can make a change at work today, that I can make a change with my friends, that I can make a change on my campus, and maybe somebody who sits alone all the time, maybe if I put this piece with this piece, that would help them. Like, I would be somebody who made a change in somebody else's life today. Last thing. I know I say like last thing a couple times. So truly, this is the last thing. Something that I love doing whenever I'm going through a hard time. Part of my coping, part of my process of dealing with things is remembering that things are, like I've said a billion times now, it is not all about us. And on the other side of that, it's not just that it's not about us, but actually when we go do things for other people, when we live for a purpose that's bigger than us and just what we care about and what we think we want to do and all of that, when we do things beyond that for other people, we actually can find some bit of fulfillment in that, and we can find that, wow, like my crappy mood just changed to a happy mood because like I did something for somebody else, and man, that felt good. So sometimes you may be like in a bad headspace, you may be like going through a ton of change and stuff like that, and you're just like, what do I do? Listen, it helps. It really does help to make a decision to see the wood that you have and the nails that you have and say, okay, I've got this hammer. If I can just take like one swing at this, like just take a swing, like what's it gonna do? Like what's it gonna hurt? Just take a swing. You start building that boat. Then Jesus comes along and he's like, hey, I see you got a boat. And then there you go. You start on this journey of figuring things out and going through a process and being used by God to make a big impact on other people. Like, just go do the thing. If you sit around on it just that kind of behavior, that stuff that we find ourselves doing, like, it doesn't really change anything. It's just like how you would get onto a kid. Like, they do the same thing over and over and over, and you're like, dude, why are you doing this? You're just making it harder on both of us. And I think sometimes God looks at us like that, and he's like, dude, let's do something different. Come on. I've called you to more than this. I've called you to better than this. And actually, I've called you 2 people, and I'm ready to use you. Okay, so got my coffee made. Now here's the thing, that's a part of my what too. My business and network marketing, that's a part of my what. I've gotten to meet so many different people. And so I'm not selling you on anything. I'm just sharing with you how God really can use a lot of different things to send you out to use you in different areas and meet different people. So network marketing, woo, potty time at home, it's time to go. But all those things is how God can use you, okay? So find your boat, figure out your boat, and I'll talk to y'all later. Ready? Say bye, Samara.